Hey guys, I have a Valorant course that teaches you to master the fundamentals of Valorant competitive. You can find it in the top link of the description below, patreon.com/Duckeeh. As you can see from the comments of the course, it says W guide, W video. Best worth, very much worth. Thank you so much, Duckeeh. Worth the $5. Definitely a good investment of my money. 99% of people that watch the course have also liked the video. So if you guys are interested, link down below and enjoy the video. Hey guys, today I'm going to be breaking down how you should be positioning in Valorant, because positioning is actually a rather complex and sometimes difficult thing to understand, or to understand like kind of where to position in certain scenarios. So this video also contains a smaller number of higher quality tips. If you guys prefer this type of video compared to my other ones, let me know in the comments below, and I'll probably be making my videos like this from now on. So getting into the first tip is understand that there are different phases of any given round, right? So I'm going to go ahead and list off the 3 phases, right? I kind of like made these up, but this is kind of how I think of different rounds in competitive whenever I play Valorant, okay? So the first phase of a round is the defaulting and probing phase for attackers, right? So it doesn't matter if you are the attackers, there's always a probing or like a decision point, even if that decision point is before the round starts. That's like what the plan is for the attackers, like where they're going to be attacking, where are they like defaulting, or are they looking for a kill around the map. And so if you're defenders, you want to understand this, and if you're the attackers, obviously you want to be doing this, right? You want to be trying to probe where the enemy's weaknesses are on defense, and if you're defending, you want to try to not give the enemies too much of a chance to kill. So if I'm defending here on split, for example, and I know now that there's the defaulting or probing phase, I don't want to peek this, especially if I'm like a killjoy, right? The only reason I would peek this is if I'm a duelist and I'm very confident in myself, right? I don't even like to peek this that often, because it's just, in my opinion, not a very favorable peek. People can swing you close here or back here, and it's just kind of hard. I like to play up here instead. Anyways, that's kind of beside the point. The next phase of a round is the pushing and defending as attackers' entry into site. So, right, so like I said, there's the part where attackers are kind of like probing out where they want to go from like here, right? They're not actually committed to the site yet, but they're thinking, okay, all right, let's group mid and push mid now, okay? Oh, let's go fast A, okay? So this is the phase, this is that phase, but this second phase that I'm talking about is whenever the attackers are actually trying to take site control. So let's say like the attackers are pushing out into A like this, right? Basically this is the second phase of a round, and it's during this phase, whenever you're attacking, that you're probably the most aggressive you're going to be during the whole round, okay? Because you're basically pushing up, you're making yourself extremely vulnerable to all of these corners here, like all of these, see, like in like killjoy defenses. Whenever you're attacking, this is your weakest moment, right? But if you can get control of the site, also when you're defending and the attackers are pushing, you really want to try to prevent them from getting into the site if possible. Of course, this is what like nanostorms are for. This is why you want to hold these kind of angles here instead of just like running away and hiding. If it doesn't really matter what role you're playing in this scenario. You want to stop you either want to stop the enemies from pushing and taking control of the site, or try to play retake with your team together, which might be hard to coordinate with certain teams or certain teams in certain ranks, but that's ideally what you want to be doing, okay? And the third and final phase of a round is post-plant defense or retaking the site, right? So the spike is obviously, how you win and lose rounds. So if you're an attacking team, let's say we're an attacking team and we plant the spike in the most common spot, which is somewhere like right here. So we plant, right? We plant, and now what? Now, after we plant the spike as attackers, we're actually defending. Do you guys understand this? We're defending, okay? Because we no longer have to take space. We no longer have to push. The only reason we ever needed to push as attackers was to get the spike down. Now that we've gotten the spike down, we're defenders, right? We're defenders. We're no longer attackers, okay? So all you have to do is pick kind of like an angle to watch. You don't have to play super aggressive, but again, just hold an angle. Maybe you want to peek like this, go for a little somewhat aggressive peek. But again, if you're just like running it down, if you are a duelist, it's okay to position aggressively like this. Maybe like this, or maybe getting even like a position like this. But if you're not a duelist and you have valuable utility like, smokes or something, you're probably going to want to be playing back further on site. I'll talk a little bit more about this in another tip here though, because it ties into a lot of points I have with that one. So basically understand that, and understand whenever you're defending and the spike is gone down, it's time for you to group here as a team and retake, right? We want to push in here from all of these ways together. We don't want to go in one at a time, because that's going to make our chances of winning extremely unfavorable. Okay, guys? So these are the 3 phases of the round. I would suggest going back and kind of understanding these and maybe thinking about how this would play out on other parts of the map and other parts of different maps. And that'll really help you understand. The next part of this tip is you have to understand you have a function in each of these phases that you must realize, right? And this function that you have for each phase depends on what role and what agent you're playing. So I said I want to give you guys a duelist example. So let's say that we're attacking here. If I'm a duelist and our team's decided that we're going A at whatever point in the round, I'm gonna basically either be walking up or like kind of just running up, right? At this point, I'm probably gonna start running up. I'm gonna clear everything here, make sure all the corners are clear. And again, this is the most vulnerable state that you have as an attacker. As a defending duelist, I would probably play somewhat close, so like one of these spots here, something close, maybe even come up here for a little bit of a peek. But again, this is an aggressive peek. If you can cross over to here whenever you're defending as a duelist, this is extremely good because people often do not clear this side on the left. They usually just kind of look like this and they just neglect this for whatever reason, right? Because it's just uncommon. As for a sentinel example, whenever we're attacking here, we're gonna want to be playing a little more passive. You're gonna want to kind of act as a support for your team. So for example, our team's pushing up. I don't know, you might throw a nanostorm like this. Again, I don't really play Killjoy, so I don't know if this is actually good. But you're basically more of a support. Like, okay, I'm gonna Killjoy ult sight, right? That's pretty good Killjoy ult. But anyways, hopefully this part makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next tip, which is basically when to be playing aggressive versus passive. And as a general rule of thumb, we want to be looking at the amount of players on our team that are alive versus the amount of enemy players that are alive to understand when we want to be playing passive versus aggressive, okay? So let's actually move to the B site just because, why not?
Bot coming back.
But basically, let's say that you guys are let's say your team has 3 people alive, the enemy team has 1 person alive. Let's say it's a 3v1. So I already know from experience that lower ranked players have a tendency to want to play super aggressive in this scenario. So in the 3v1, the 3 players want to go find the last person and push and play super aggressive because they're kill greedy, right? It's either that they're kill greedy, they want more kills, right? Or they just don't understand why pushing is bad, or they're not thinking about it. It's kind of mindless, right? And that's exactly why it's bad, because you don't know what you're doing. And you have to understand that going for a kill whenever it's a 3v1, just trying to secure the kill, is more than likely just giving them a free chance to secure the round, right? Each 1v1 that you give the last player on the enemy team that's alive is a chance that you have to just lose the round, right? Whereas if you're just 3v1, it is boring, but if you just sit and wait and hold down the site, that's all you need to do, and that's the most effective way to win the round in that scenario. However, if it is like a 2v4, right? Let's say that your team has 2 people alive, the enemy team has 4 people alive. That's going to mean that you're going to want to naturally play a little more aggressive because you have you're at the disadvantage, and you want to take any free kills that the enemies give you so that you can have a more favorable chance to win the round, right? Because a 2v4 is not likely for you to win, so you want to be playing more aggressive to make that chance more like higher, right? And vice versa for whenever your team has more people. So what role you play has a moderate impact on this as well, right? But this doesn't mean that if you're a sentinel, you shouldn't ever be taking fights, right? If you're a duelist, you naturally want to be taking more of the fights. You want to be trying to take more space, trying to be getting up farther, like I said over on A. You want to try to get up into a position like this. This is really good from my experience. This is a little more predictable for whatever reason. People will definitely clear this more than they clear like, over here or something. But also, here's a good... but if you're a sentinel, you probably don't want to be up here unless it's like a 1v3, because if it's a 1v3, why does it matter if you're on site anyway? I feel like people limit themselves because of the agent or role that they play, right? So if you're a sentinel, you feel like you need to be playing like back here. This is often a mistake. If it's like a 1v3 or 1v2, often the best play is to just be pushing forward. You don't see pro players that play like sentinel scared to do things like this, right? You don't see Radiant players that play controller or sentinel scared to go for plays like this whenever they need to do it. Whenever all the pressure is on them to win the round, they're willing to do it, okay? So, yeah, and again, if you're like a duelist, naturally that sort of play is going to be more common and probably work better for you because you have an ability kit that is built for you. But understand that no matter what your agent is, you can still do that. So the third and final tip that I have for you guys is don't let fear hold you back when positioning. This also kind of ties into this quite nicely because A lot of the time, if you're a sentinel, the main reason why you wouldn't want to push up here is probably because you're scared either to die because you're not used to taking fights, or you're scared that someone on your team is gonna be like, Killjoy, what are you up here for, or something like that, right? Like, Killjoy, so you're a sentinel, right? But if it's a 2v4 and now you know that the best play is to be playing a little more aggressive, you can maybe even ask like, yo, let's do it, let's double up, let's push into spawn together. You know, the spike's planted here for heaven. You know, let's double flank heaven, right? That's like a really good play. That'll more than likely win you the round if you play it correctly. Whereas if you're giving into your fear and you just kind of sit here and wait because you're like, oh, I'm a sentinel, right? That's my role. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's gonna make the chances of winning the round much lower because they kind of already expect you to be here, right? Like if you're retaking, where do you expect people to be? Like if you're up here and you're just looking and you don't see anyone, you're expecting them to be either here, main, or behind pillar, right? So you're gonna clear all of that, right? You're gonna be cleared. The odds of you winning, you know, in a clutch scenario, winning like a bunch of 1v1s like that are just kind of unlikely. So role does play a role in, but any agent can still be played with excess fear. So I don't know if that made sense. I think that sense is a little bit weird, but whenever you have excess fear prevents opportunities that might open up and easily win rounds for your team, right? So this is a perfect example of like kind of walking up here whenever your team's down numbers significantly in like a 1v3 or, you know, 2v4 or something. Also kind of, you know, just kind of seeing if you can walk up into areas. So if both your duelists or all your duelists have died, then why not allow yourself to, you know, take on that role temporarily anyway, right? Because you kind of have to. You can't just play back because, oh, I'm a sentinel, right? That doesn't make sense. So comms and coordination can help tremendously to find opportunities through better positioning. So like I said, if it's like 2v4, you guys are both mid, and it doesn't seem like there's anyone in B heaven, ask your teammate, like, come, walk up. Like, maybe your whole team just died A. Like, come with me, right? And your team's coming up. Make sure you're clearing everything. Maybe even could say, like, let's walk spawn. This is a perfect example of, like, how positioning could easily get you a free kill. So, like, say you catch someone rotating, and then we just go B or something like that, right? Something like that. I don't know. But that's a pretty good example of, you know, don't let your fear hold you back whenever you're trying to position. And more aggressive positioning, whenever you need to be positioning, how that can benefit you. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the higher quality tips. Let me know if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.